Yo, what's goody? So what I decided to do is I decided to mix a couple videos together because to just save time. Um, it's basically I was going to talk about patience in one and precision in another. So I'm like, you know what? Go ahead and bring them together. They'll be okay. So in this video, I'm going to teach you guys about patience and I'm going to teach you guys about precision in doing this. Okay. Um, so we're going to go through and we're going to look at some examples of how this is going to work and what this is going to be like. Okay, so let's utilize this. Let's utilize euro in this example. Okay, so what I want you guys to understand, what I want you guys to really kind of look at in this example is I want you guys to pay attention to this marriage here, okay? So I want you guys to look at the marriage. Now, what I want you to understand, okay, the way I become so extremely precise and how I get such great wick entries is I just let the market come to me. So I don't chase the market. And that took me a really long time to do. I've gotten really, really good at it in the last 6 months. But you know, I would get lucky in the first year. I would say after a year when I stopped trading like a damn heathen. You guys will hear me say that a lot. Don't trade like a heathen. There's no point in doing it. You're gonna lose more money than you will make usually because you're chasing the market, not letting the market come to you. And there's no rush. So once I stopped, I got out of that mind frame and I was like, you know what? I don't have to rush it. There's not any kind of rush that I need to have. I'm making this harder on myself. Once I kind of stopped doing that and realized that there's so many different pairs in the market and I am really good at what I do, I just need to be patient. So that's what I really began to understand, and I was like, okay, this is something that I just need to wait on. Now I've been able to take everything a step further and realize about how precise what I've actually built is. It's actually ridiculously precise. And if I just go in and trust myself on that, then I can make thousands of dollars a day. And that's what I want to pass on to you guys. Now, how this is, we're going to bring the sense of patience. Patience really comes down to these marriages, and so does precision as well. But when you bring in multiple confirmations, okay, and what I like to do is my confirmation is with the trend. Okay, so if you were to look at this, we're going to bring in a dynamic support and resistance now. Okay, when you look at this, I want you to look at this. I want you to take it from this wick, and I just want you to watch, okay? So notice when I bring this through this level through here, what do we pretty much notice about this? Now notice this is locking on for me. See how that locks? See how it like clicks? Like this is like a gradual drag, and then all of a sudden you're gonna see it lock. See how it locked right there? This is a trend, okay? So this is a very, what is it? I can't even think of the name. I told you my vocabulary isn't very extravagant. But this trend is, it's a very tight trend. It's moving in a very tight direction. It's not, let me show you what I mean by that. Okay. So this is more of a wide downward trend. See how that works in that direction. See how it's like, you can see it's like it has like some retracements and it comes back up, and see how it hits that. Same thing with this one here. This one is not as, see how that works. See how the trend is, it's not as tight. Like that was a very dramatic drop that it had. Okay. That drop that it had over here. But I want you to understand the dynamic of what this means, okay? So when we do this, what must happen, guys, is in order for us to do this, to draw this, we need to have 2 touches. Now, what do I mean by 2 touches? Meaning you have to have a beginning phase And then you need to have a phase where there's some type of pullback or something where it's a retracement and you can draw another touch. Okay. When you have at least 2 touches, that shows that there is a level of respect at that point. And whenever the third touch happens, what usually happens is when it touches it a third time, it drops again. And what usually happens if it touches it a fourth time, it drops again. And then what usually happens if it touches a fifth time, it drops again. But here's what's going to happen, guys. At some point in time, that trend is going to switch. Okay, it's going to switch. So when you're after it's had its 2 touches, you have to understand that you want to take the next touch that it does, wherever that third touch is. It could be in 3 days, it could be in 6 hours, it could be in 5 weeks. I don't know what it would be. You have to make that judgment yourself. A lot of this stuff, I'm giving you the tools that you need, but you guys are going to go and formulate this and perfect this on your own. And you guys are going to bring in your own style, whatever your names are, you're going to bring in your own swag. Like I got my own JDR swag to all my stuff. And you guys are going to bring your own swag into it. Like I'm giving you everything that you need. And then as your eyes adjust, as you start to feel more comfortable and confident, you're going to bring your own stuff in. Okay. But I want you to understand that this is not the end all be all trend, that it's just always going to stay in that. Okay. And that's how I'm going to, and then I'm going to, in the next video, show you where to place stop losses so that you lose a very minimum amount of money and that you have a potential to make a very big maximum amount of money that is at least 3 times over than what you would lose. Okay. So I want you guys to see this and recognize this. Now it hits it twice from here to here. There's where it goes. That's the 3rd time. That's the 4th time. There's the 5th time. And what do you notice? It switches. And what does it do? It comes back around, whips around, and touches it from the downside. Okay. Now that is not by mistake. Those things happen all of the time. Now notice it's in and around a marriage. Okay. So what I want you guys to recognize, okay, is this, that it is around a marriage. Now, what I want to show you is I'm going to show you how to do a downward one, which is very simple. You just do it just like this, straight through there. All right. And there's a downward trend there. Now, notice I have this centered around my marriage. It's not anywhere else besides around my marriage. That's a touch from that point there. It comes right through there very closely. There's a touch there. There's a touch there. There's a touch there. And there's one there. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to spend time on our smaller time frames, which is going to be our 4-hour. And what we are going to do is we are going to identify with what the market is doing at those levels. Now, what is it that we need to happen whenever the market reaches, or what is one of the things we know that when price goes to our marriage, what do we know? What is it? What is it that we know that when price reaches our marriage? What is one of the 3 things that happen? We know, 1, it's going to consolidate inside or contract and expand to the up or the downside. We know that it is going to touch it and instantly go our way. And we know that it is going to trend switch in the marriage. Now, whenever we see this line right here, okay, this is our big downtrend line. And if you guys don't get this on the first try and all those things, that's completely fine. This will take time to get, but I will show you how to do this when this happens. Okay, we're starting to get into very low risk trades. Now, this is that big downward line. It's always going to look different when you take it to your smaller time frames. It just always will look different. That's just what it will look like. Okay, but when you recognize this basically through here of this trend. Okay, let's go back and look at it again on our daily. This is the downward move here. This is a little more complex to read. Okay, I'm going to show you easier ones. And like I tell everyone, the easier it looks to read, probably the easier it's going to be to trade. They're not always going to be perfect. Okay, so what would happen is when the price reaches your marriage with this trend that it bounces off of to the upside of what it shows you when it gets to that point, it's very close. Doesn't hit it all the way perfectly, but it's very close. Same thing here. It doesn't hit it all the way perfectly. What needs to happen, guys, is when it gets to this point, this is your buying zone right here. Okay, this becomes your buying zone within this point at this entire area. And your stop loss would go right below here at that point. right at this level. Now I want you to realize this is a 4-hour candle, okay? So when you're buying, and notice this is a hammer that happens. Now from that point, it goes up like 86 pips or so. But when you're buying anywhere in this level here and you're placing a stop below here, this I would say somewhere in there about a 20 pip stop. And you would go pretty much no higher than right in here, which is about 80 pips. Um, that is over a 4-to-1 risk to reward trade when you're getting in this point. But remember, it all is centered around this marriage in here. Now, it's a very precise marriage, okay? So when you guys are getting to this point, you have to understand what you're doing when it gets to that point, what you are following when it gets to that point. I'm bringing you in these trend lines because I want you guys to visually be able to see what you're following every time. Now, when it reaches the top of the trend, you know that this is a clear area of where your downtrend is beginning at in that point. Now, what I like to do is I like to bring in a second trend line. Okay. Now, that was a daily one all the way at the top up there. And I can show you this right here, guys. This is really like, that was the big one I drew. This is a trend that happens right inside of there. Do you see how accurate that is? Right through there, it happens, it trades through. And then there's one straight through the bottom that it trades on as well. Only until it switches above this does it ever switch to an uptrend, or vice versa if you're going the other way. Okay. So what I mean by that is, so here's the top. I always put it at the close of these candles and the wicks of the candles. Now this is like the close and the wicks. Okay, so you see how that is? See how that works right there? The close and the wicks right through there. It's basically right through this area right here. Okay, now we are centered, and we are only, literally, we're only worried about when price gets near this marriage. Okay, so we would sell it at this point here. Now watch what happens. Now follow me very, very closely, okay? I said we need at least 3 candles to hold below our marriage on this specific time frame we are trading on. Now I like to trade on more the daily and the 4-hour because they're more heavily traded, and they're larger time frames which have more money in them. That's why I do that. Now, here's my marriage, okay? I wouldn't necessarily mess with it yet right now because it's in my marriage. I would wait on it to break below. There's 1 candle, 2 candles, 3 candles, okay? Now, here's our presiding trend that we have right here in the downtrend with a marriage, okay? What happens at this point, guys, is we have a conversion point between a strong downtrend that started on the daily, okay? That's what these lines represent here. And we have a marriage that we know is a monthly and a weekly marriage, okay? Meaning that that is a higher time frame buildup of price. And we have a downtrend. Do you see this? A high, and then we have all that. We'll just say this is a low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high. Do you see that? We only, and let's make sure that I put this out there in case I haven't yet. In a downtrend, we're only looking to sell at the lower highs. That's it. Lower highs, lower highs. That's where we're looking to sell at in a downtrend, because we're hoping to catch the lower low move. Okay. And that's the follow through move. So when we sell at a lower high, what we're doing is we're taking off a lot of risk. So we're not selling at a low. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we sold at the low, we're like always going to go negative. You know what I'm saying? Because it's supposed to have a retracement. That's what's supposed to happen. So we're waiting on a certain point, a certain thing to happen, and we're waiting on the retracement. Okay. This is your lower high. All right. When you sell here, guys, at this point in the marriage, you're selling here, and your stop is going somewhere above this marriage point up there. Now, depending on the size of trade you put in will determine the risk that you're putting on your account. Now, I say don't trade with more than 5% risk. on one specific trade, I mean that's a lot, because if you lose, 5 trades in a row, that's 25% of your account. You see what I'm saying? Um, but I have, in doing this and coming down to these extremely smaller time frames, you can get it to where you're very precise on levels. But do you see how this, when you come in at that level, guys, you're waiting on it to get to that point. Sometimes it may not reach it. Like right here, if it doesn't reach it right here, and you had a pending order sitting right here, you just would be SOL. I'm just being honest with you. That's just what would happen. But it doesn't mean that down the road, you might not get another opportunity. And there it is right here. And that's it. And it still goes down. Look how far this thing drops, guys. 200 plus pips from that point. It drops all the way down 200 plus pips at that level. And it did it precisely to marriage. Now, you would risk no more than, let's just say at most 30 pips at that level. And this would be an area of take profit. Why? Because it shows you every time price gets there, it bounces up. It bounces up at that point. Now that's over a 3-to-1 risk to reward trade. But I want you guys to understand these are on weekly and monthly marriages. So for this thing to have a 200 pip move, it's no surprise. Like you could put, and I need you guys to trade with multiple different positions. Okay. Trust me on this. You will make way more money over time in doing this. Meaning that if you wanted to put, okay, let's just say you wanted to put 0.10 on, you're wanting to put 0.10 on, just place 3 orders of 0.03 and 1 order of 0.01, okay, to equal 0.10. And what you're going to do, guys, is as the market continues to drop, you're going to take orders out, okay? You're going to have strategic areas of stop loss and take profits that you will have. One of them would be right here. All right. Now, this is something that you're going to have to fill out for yourself, because like, I don't know what the market setup is going to look like that you do. Like, I just don't know. Like, I have no idea what it's going to look like that you do. So in this specific example, if I'm trading this, guys, we are taking it out at areas. We're taking entries out at areas of where the market shows us that it usually moves up at. Like, that's what we're doing. We're taking entries out like at those areas, not at places we think, or that let's say we're like, oh, I'm going to make, if this thing goes down 200 pips, I'll make $200. No, like that's not how, now you're starting to think in money terms. You're not thinking in the art form of trading terms, that the market makes the decisions. Like, yeah, it'd be great if it went down to that level, but we're not exactly sure. And what we want to do is, you guys don't want to lose a lot of money in trading. You guys want to make a lot of money in trading. And I'm protecting you from losing a lot. I'm teaching you how to be precise and how to be patient. So when you get in at this level, you're risking that amount of pips, and you're going to take it out for sure, one of the levels being here. Now, if it goes all the way down, like you can put one, I've done this many times, you place a stop loss in profit, so you're guaranteed to lose nothing and you make something, okay? And that's what we call a risk-free trade, okay? Once you have your trade risk-free and the market has moved to a certain extent or to a certain point, you can just leave your trade in and move on to the next setup, okay? That's all you have to do. Now, on the flip side, all right? On the flip side, say you get in back at this level here. Now, here's what I want you guys to understand. Yes, this is the over-presiding downtrend that we have in there, okay? That's an over-presiding downtrend that we have. Still is doing that, all right? Now, what I want you guys to understand is the marriages are the areas in which we only look to take entry off of. So when this thing comes at this point, here's your area. What we really need to have, and what we really need to understand, is these are the best possible places to take entries off of. Let me kind of say that in a better way. These are the best possible and highest probability places in which the market should reverse at. Okay. It doesn't mean that whenever you see a presiding downtrend and it's always reversed off that, it doesn't mean that you would be wrong in taking it. Just keep your stops tight, guys. Like, just not extremely large. Um, like, try to keep them within like a 50 pip radius or so. And you got to think that um, in doing that, that is, I try to not go over that, just because of what I usually am risking on trades and stuff and my precision. Um, but my best advice I can give you is let the market build up. See how the market is building up and built up and built up, and see how it's contracting, and see how this has been a downtrend, but it's a safe zone in here in your marriage. They're like safe zones. I guess that's a good way to put it. They're like safe zones. Um, like, they give you a really good area for stop loss. They give you a good area to kind of see what they should respect, and they should respect those zones. But here's the thing, guys. When it switches like this and price starts to hold above like that, see how it's been downtrending, 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 and all of a sudden, oh, it switched. Look at the candlesticks. You see the hammer? You see the psychology of the candlesticks? The wicks are now, they're going down, meaning that volume is being pushed up. See that? Like, that's now what's going on. Um, that's what's happening in the price. And then here's your marriage at this point here. And these are judgment calls you have to make, okay? You can either, and I can remember one of my students was actually asking me about this, and I kind of gave him my input about, the two things to look out for. You got a trend switch on the smaller time frames that has been pushed down here, and you have a marriage right there. So what you're doing is you're only selling at this point right here with the stop loss up there, and you're buying down here with the trend switch, because it can either have a drastic drop down, or it can have a drastic rise up. And it decided to have a big rise up. And then, as you notice, guys, those trend switches there now. Now notice how I have that there. Here's what you now follow. You take it from your wicks, okay? And you take it just like this, guys. Just like this. Do you see how this is? How this works right here? This is the exact trend you would draw. And now you're following an uptrend. Now, what are we waiting on? We're waiting on price to come back to our marriage. There's 1, 2, 3 candles. See how it closed 3 candles up there? And then the next touch. There's our next touch. There's our marriage. Here is your entry right here, guys. This is it. Now, here's something I do. Let's make sure I draw this perfectly for you guys. Okay, so I touch it at the wick, the wick, the wick, okay? So see that? Now watch, here's how I do this. I duplicate the line and I put body closes. Now see that? Body closes, body closes, body closes. Now see that? Here's what this creates, guys. This creates a stop loss system for me. So I enter either at this touch here and in the middle of this, in this area here, and I place my stop a little bit below my second line. Okay. And I judge that based off of what price has told me in the previous levels. That's how I judge that. So when I look, I see, oh, okay, here, what is price done here? What was once a resistance now becomes a support. That's the first time it came over and touched it. This is the area in which I'm looking to enter in. And my stops go a little bit below my zones here. And there is my move. Here is my area right here. There's the moves that happen there. Now, instantly go in profit. And then obviously this trade goes up 83 pips. I would probably not be risking any more than, let's just 30 pips. I wouldn't put a stop that far down on this specific trade, but just to show you, that would be it. Or I would honestly probably put my stop about 15 pips to 20 pips. And then I would have one of my trades come out at this resistance up here at this point, which is about 80 pips above. And that would be a zone. Now, I have exceptions to take more pips on trades. Like, I have exceptions, but I like to day trade. I like to make money every day. I like to make money every week. That's what I like to do. And then I like to also swing trade, which means I keep trades in for an extended amount of time. So that might be for 3 weeks. That might be for 2 months. I've held trades as long as 7 months before. And those were awesome trades. I made over 500% on my account in just that specific trades that I held in. But doing these kind of trades is what's going to make you guys money right now. And that's what you guys want to do, is make money right now. But it's a system. It's a very precise system, guys, that you must follow. Whenever the market has closed below your uptrend trades, or your, so uptrend, right? Close below. See how this is closing below and this is your marriage here? When price has closed above your downtrend, the trend has switched. Okay. So you should be not looking to sell anymore when it goes above your downtrend. Does that make sense? You don't look to sell anymore. You look to buy off of the retest. Now, this was very close to hitting that point. It didn't hit it, but it was very close. But that gives you like confidence that, hey, this could go up. When it switches below, see this? Look at the system. The lines just switch. That's all that happens. So the line that I was placing a stop on the uptrend of here, I'm just going to place a stop on the opposite side. So see how like I would sell in here at this point, knowing that this was my resistance at this point up here. I would sell somewhere in this zone here, right? And then this would be one of my take profits at this point right here. Okay. Now, why we get this type of move, and you're like, yo, JDR, how does this even work? Well, let us go look. Let's look at this one. I have markups of literally the same thing on all my charts. I like to mark up charts. This is your weekly downtrend. So when we're looking at these things, guys, your bigger time frames are always going to come into play. That's your weekly downtrend. Okay, so guess what? You have that high up here and this low. This is a lower high at this point. So your bigger time frames are always going to come into play. And that's why I teach you guys how to pay attention and look at the bigger time frames when this stuff happens, okay? Because when you can see that, this is it. And imagine this. I don't know anybody who caught this. I didn't. But imagine you got in on this trade right here and you sold this and you literally waited for it to get to that point. Do you guys understand that that trade would have went your way? Like you would have caught almost 200 pips in a matter of 4 hours. And that thing would have dropped all the way down there to 300 plus pips of that move. And do you realize you would have placed a sell here with a stop above right here, 20 pip stop? One of your take profits you would have put right here because it has shown you. See how the market has shown you that it is support, okay? And it is above your marriage. Only until the market tells you otherwise do you switch anything, guys. Only whenever your market tells you otherwise. Meaning, see how this thing has came down below that now? So it's shown you that, hey, it's disrespected that. It's came back down into a selling point because guess what? 1, 2, 3. 3 candles have held below that. So if it comes back up here, you already know what you're looking for. But do you realize the precision and the accuracy that you would have in taking that in that position? And every time it stays below these trend, the uptrend line, when it stays below it, it's still it still has the potential to go down. Every single time this thing stays above your downtrend line, it still has the potential to go up. But if it stays below it, it still is a downtrend. If it stays above your uptrend line, it's still an uptrend. So meaning if this thing comes here and goes up again, boom. And then goes here, it goes up again, boom. And it comes, guess what, all the way up here and it retraces all the way back down to here, boom. It's still an uptrend. You're just following what the market is telling you, okay? That's all you guys are doing. You're not making anything any more complex than it needs to be at all. Let's go over and look at something a little easier to read, okay? Let's go over to this example that I had drawn for you guys on these time frames, okay? So remember how I had drawn these for you guys? These are those same points, those areas that I had drawn at this point. These are the zones right here, guys. This is the little downtrend and the uptrend. Watch this. I'm going to take these at the closes of these candlesticks, okay? So we're going to shrink this down. We're going to take sorry, not the closes. I'm taking the wicks. These are the wicks of the candles that I'm getting. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this line, and I'm going to get you guys on the bodies of the closes right here. All right, this is where I'm going to do. And we are taking it at the marriage. So there's 1, 2. Now notice this is with the marriage point at this area right here. You're taking this, okay? you're taking your trades right in here. Look at how accurate this is. Look at all of the reversal candles that happen right there. Look at the contraction that it does and look at the expansion it has to the upside. Do you see this? You take your entries here at this point. You have a very small stop loss at that area. And look at what happens whenever your market goes up. Okay, do you see that 240 pips? Now let me show you guys something. And I don't want you guys to stress about doing this and getting this down. I want you guys to see how this works because guess what? With my live webinars that I do and you guys get on, I will be able to help you with this. Okay, like you guys will get to see me do this live if you're on, hopefully. And then, of course, just ask me questions. Do you see this excitable move right here? You guys see that? See how it excitably goes up at that point? Let me extend this out a little bit more so you can see this. See that? Excitable move right there, right? Major support in the market. This is a fib pull for you right here. I want you guys to show this. God, it gets me. This is actually a trade I took back in 2017. Look at this. Look at this, guys, at this point. So when you do this, do you see the move? It goes all the way up to the 127. Now you have an idea of why it goes, of where to take your trades at, okay? So when you're getting into this point, this is your trend. So see how it doesn't quite hit your 50? And your stop would be below this 50, guys. That's where your stop would be. And your area of accuracy is going to shoot me over here, but watch your area of accuracy. This is what I want you guys to see. The accuracy on this is extremely, extremely great. Okay. Now look at this. That's here's your excitable move. Let's look at this. Okay. Look at your level of accuracy. It does not hit your 50, but do you see the level that you could enter on if you're paying attention to what happens? Look at this. Here's your level here. Okay. If you enter, this will stand for all of the fib levels, okay? If you enter at the 61.8, you're going to place a stop below the 50. This is to keep your risk small. If you enter at the 50, you're going to put a stop below the 38.2. If you enter at the 38.2, your stop goes below the 23.6. But when you enter off my fib strategy, guys, when you do those kind of things, do it with the highest amount of confirmations. Meaning, if you look at this, you can see that there's multiple confirmations around this 61 and this 50, okay? At this level. This is also your monthly and your weekly marriage zone right here. This is. And you can see that price is contracting between the 61 and the 50. And you see this uptrend is clearly at this level. You would take entries off of this at this area, guys, with the stop below this. And you would get, and this would be a right trade for you. And this would be your ultimate, this would be one take profit right here because this is the most recent high, most recent level. And that would be another one. But do you understand the amount of you could put this thing, we can even take it to a 30 pip stop. You wouldn't even do that on this trade, but you can see 30 pip stop with what type of reward? 225, and another one is 125. Do you see the amount of ability that you have to win on that trade and how high it is? Now, when it switches, guys, let's take this off. All you're doing is switching it. That's it. So as soon as it comes below that, look, you're taking a trade here. Your stop is going like right here, like right in there at that level. You could put that thing at a 10 pip stop. You could put that thing at a 20 pip stop at that level. You are capable of doing those types of things with this strategy, guys. And then when it comes back down in your marriage again, you're waiting on it to get to that level. Okay. That is what you are doing when it gets to that point. Now, I know there was a lot in this video. I know I talked about a lot of things. But like I said, this is meant for you to see how this works. And then it's going to help you guys asking me questions. I promise you it is. And then doing these kind of things on your own, spending your own time and doing these kind of things. But this is exactly how you would do that. And on the next video, we're going to go over some more things. And it's called sharpening your eyes. So I'm going to show you guys how to bring in multiple confirmations and how to bring certain things in to make it even a more dynamic system for you to make money. Now, you guys have done, you've got a lot. There's a lot. Now you guys have started to see where you can place stop losses at, which is one of the most important things to do so that you can protect your account and continually make money. You guys know where to put those at now. You guys kind of know how to judge the trends and formulate them in with the marriages of how it's going to become accurate for you, and how to do those kind of things. So those are things that you want to pay close attention to, and how to really work those things. So yeah, guys, the next video is going to be even a little more detailed on things. It won't be as long. This is one I combined two different things in with it, which was patience and precision, basically, of how to do this. That's why this was a little longer. So I will be moving on to the next one, and I will see you guys on the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this.